very well if you think that the 40% reduction that is requested on the CO2 can be applied with the support of a well-functioning ETS market. At that point in time, I think everybody in the industry, starting with operators, will decide on which element will achieve that specific target, which technology might be best used. Again, sun in Andalusia and Sicily and wind in the North Sea, maybe, coupled with maintaining nuclear, coming with new technologies in going after coal or gas technologies to produce electricity in the most efficient ways. The irony of having industry in these days, our industry, the one I represent, having the lowest ever price for the wholesale market, while the citizens, consumers are paying the highest price, is something that is the result of the many different policies that are being applied that now need to be corrected. So if we have one single target, then let's decide on the best available technology how to achieve this. And if you do that, it will be irrelevant to say 27% renewables. Because technologies will improve, and there will be renewables, will be combined cycle gas, will be nuclear, will be whatever will be necessary to electrify the
So
system.
for you, that target could go anyway. Just park it. It's meaningless.
It is well said by the Commission to say this is not a binding target for nations, for member states. It's an overall target. Well said. Possibly we will be achieving it because some of the countries, due to the huge amount of money that we have invested way above what it was necessary, are already beyond that. If you go to Germany, they are well beyond 27%. If you go to Italy, we are still over there. So just if you say flat, you can make it.
Okay.
So it makes no sense to have it to some extent. But let's have it if it's subordinated to the main target, which is 40%. Then we can discuss whether 40% is enough.
So a hierarchy of targets is the key. And on energy efficiency, I mean, are they right to delay doing it? Hang on, Ulrich, I want to give others a chance to come in. Are they right to say, hang on, we've got this review anyway of the Energy Efficiency Directive. There would be no point setting a target until we complete that review. A thought to the targets generally, and if you can pick up on the energy point.
I think,
Margaret first and then Theo.
I fully agree to what we've heard. I think we should really concentrate on one target here. It's an ambitious target, as we all know, and we have to have a harmonized energy policy in the EU. Regarding efficiency, I have always a second opinion because, I mean, we as industry, we have certainly a very, very clear target to be as efficient as possible, not to obey any European regulation or rules, but just because we want to make money. And the less we need in energy, the more money we make. This is just as simple. And that's why I'm sometimes a little bit disappointed that we are talking so much about the trading system, whether we should keep the free allocation, which I think we have to keep for the sectors as we had it in the past. Because a company like my company, where we have some production processes where we need 60% of energy, any 0.1% you can save means you are more efficient and you can work with better numbers. So there is a very intrinsic target or momentum to do that. So that's why I think we should. It's nice, of course, to hear it in the political area. I fully agree. And certainly also the consumers are impressed. But in the end, since we are talking here with people from business, I think it's not necessary.
It's driven by the business case. Perhaps you need it on the consumer side to encourage households and so on, but you guys don't need it, you know already. Theo?
Well, in the slipstream of Margaret, it is of course already ridiculous that the electricity prices between Germany and the Netherlands, there's a difference of €8. In the UK, we pay twice as much. For an intensive energy industry, it's very difficult then to compete. My belief is as well, but not only looking at the electricity price and energy, but also at the emission trading system, that I think we have more chances when we make it sector specific. What applies for the steel sector can be different for the electricity. And so you can use much more opportunities and to find that. Now it's too much a one size fits all, and I think we should really have a more tailor-made point of it. Also that the CO2 rights and credentials, the carbon credits, would be based on real production, on dynamic way of working, what you really produce, based on real benchmarks. We don't have those. We have benchmarks on papers, but if you benchmark yourself internationally in a global market, we should say that the best performers should be hold free for the carbon rights, the carbon credentials. And that's not the case. So that is on paper. It's also nice to hear that from our commissioners that that's the case. But in practicality, it is not working. We are not stimulating the best performers, and that's also necessary for the energy market.
Okay, Henrika, a word from you, and if you could pick up on this question about the international climate negotiations and what impact they had. Would you agree with those, including Business Europe, who argue that, okay, you can make a proposal now, but you cannot finalize it until you know the outcome of those negotiations? But also, if you want to comment on the number of targets, the comments that others have made, please do.
I mean, first on the targets, I think that 40% target is something that is giving the business a little bit of predictability, and long-term vision, right? But even Commissioner Oettinger looks like he has some doubts about the percentage. He will probably more for lower, target. But I had a privilege of being at the last COP19 in Warsaw and speaking on behalf of the industry. And, one of the problems that we definitely have with the creation of the climate policy and the energy policy is that we have very, different group of lobbies which are not necessarily talking to each other. And that was my perspective, right? That, we had NGOs, we had people, environmental experts who were discussing, the climate policy. And for the first time it happened that they were listening to somebody from the business. We have the same within the European Union. I mean, if we are not having a kind of, place that finally we are discussing together and trying to find a compromise, it will be very hard to set the goals. And the EU, with this very ambitious goal of being, the best student in the class, right? And not looking back if there are any followers. It's a perfect example of that. So that's why I think that maybe what happened with the last communication and the fact that we know that we have to put this into the international environment, will make the policy more pragmatic, more flexible.
You. So again, we are in the right direction there. I want to come back on another point which we haven't really talked about yet, which is the completion of the internal energy market, mentioned this morning, and the deadline ahead. But before I do that, any questions or comments from any of you? Does anybody want to? Yes, sir. Let me just come round to you, please.